There's nothing like the sound of Carolina hoofbeats. Riding down the trail under a big blue sky and pine trees. Sitting high in the saddle, nothing else matters. My feet in the stirrups, I'm so happy. There's nothing like the sound of Carolina hoofbeats.
We're here at the Chesapeake Training Center in Rocky Mount, North Carolina to visit with Virginia Godwin. Virginia is an Arabian horse trainer, and she's going to take a moment to teach us all about the Arabian horse, what makes them special, what kind of disciplines that they're best used for and best suited for. Virginia has been around for about 30 years in this business. She's won just about every title that there is to win, including the Arabian Professional and Amateur Horseman of the Year Award. So stay tuned. We'll be right back to learn all about Arabians.
As Miss Rodeo Virginia 2012, I had the opportunity to travel the country riding on many different horses and in many different saddles. But nothing compared to coming home and riding in uniquely my world-class saddlery saddle. From its unique dog flower tooling to the custom stirrups made just for me, the saddle fits me and my horses perfectly. So whether I'm out running barrels or in a parade, the saddle is both durable and beautiful. It can get the job done and still look good while doing it. I look forward to riding in my world-class saddlery for many years to come.
We're getting ready to have the North Carolina Southern Horse Festival, sponsored by the North Carolina Horse Council. It'll be the 5th annual festival this year. We've moved it back here to the Hunt Horse Complex in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the dates for the festival are November 22nd through the 24th. We hope that you guys will come out and enjoy us at all the fun. We've added Academy Horse Show classes this year. We've added walk trot classes this year. We'll have the traditional Nobling Quarter Horse Show, the Open Horse Show. We'll have a trail challenge on Saturday. On Sunday, we have a trail challenge finale where we're going to award a Toro lawnmower to the winner, as well as all the high point awards that we've had this year. We're going to crown a brand new Miss Southern Horse Festival and a Junior Miss Southern Horse Festival. There's just going to be tons of fun, so we hope that you'll come out and enjoy us. The event is free.
The American Music Jubilee Down Home Christmas Show starts November 8th with all new songs, comedy, and stage design. This show has become more than just a tradition in Eastern North Carolina and has pleased audiences from 8 to 80. Experience this wonderful Christmas production. Watch the cast of the American Music Jubilee sing and play their hearts out for you. The spirit of Christmas will fill the air at the Grand Ole Rudy Theater in Selma, North Carolina. Go online to amjubilee.com and make your reservations or call that famous number, 1-877-THE-RUDY. This is one show you don't want to miss.
Virginia, this is a beautiful mare. Tell us all about her.
Well, she is a 9-year-old, and she's an English pleasure mare that exemplifies to me extreme Arabian type. A very pretty, refined head, you know, flaring nostrils. For a mare, she's supposed to have large ears, and she certainly has those, but she also has a beautiful eye, and that is one of the characteristics, especially the Arabian horse, that they have a very, very big eye, you know, and a very refined and dishy face, and you know, she's got a very pretty, you know, swanny neck, and most of the horses will come in either dark bay, probably 3 different shades of bay, dark gray, or black.
Okay.
Or chestnut.
All right. And she said she's used for English horse.
Yes.
So what do you look for? Do you look for the chest or the legs to be strong?
Well, you know, most of the English horses, you know, what we look for, or what I look for, is that the neck has to come up very high out of the chest and very high out of the wither. They need to be fairly short backed.
Right.
She has a very nice hip, and it slopes off. You know, it's not level, and she has a beautiful, beautiful tail and beautiful tail carriage. And most of the most of the horses in the performance divisions, their tails have to drag the ground.
Okay.
Because they're going to lift it, they're going to be what we call very gay-tailed, and we want as high as they lift it for it to still touch the ground.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
Absolutely gorgeous. And so she's an English pleasure horse?
She is an English pleasure horse.
So what exactly is that?
It's a division in our breed, a little bit like it's a saddle seat division. The horses are very, very animated. We have country pleasure, English pleasure, and park is kind of the peacock of our breed.
Okay.
So the horses are very animated. In the open classes, they're expected to do a walk, a trot, an extended trot, a canter, and a hand gallop.
Okay.
And in the park, they're expected to do a walk, trot, and canter. But in the park classes, those gaits are very, very animated.
Right, so they have lots of leg
They have
action.
lots
foot
of action.
Okay.
The country pleasure horses are supposed to be very, very mannerly and a much softer look. Same tack, same saddle seat type division, but a country pleasure horse has to walk, trot, extended trot, canter, and hand gallop, and they also have to stop back and walk off on a loose rein.
Oh wow!
So a lot of times that'll really determine who's your best horse in the class, because they've gone around looking like $1 million at a trot, and they'll call for that halt and back and walk off on a loose rein, and the cream of the crop will rise.
Right.
The really great ones, you can pitch the rein on their neck and they'll walk around like they're going on a trail ride.
That's really cool. Absolutely gorgeous.
This is Alicia C.A., and she is a 9-time national and Canadian national champion. In country pleasure open, country pleasure driving, she's been ridden by an adult amateur. She has been ridden by a junior owner to ride.
She is absolutely outstanding.
And she is 16 years old.
Wow. She doesn't look it. She looks about 3 or 4.
Yeah. She is our queen of the farm.
So this is English country pleasure?
This is country pleasure. And this mare just has a beautiful expression and soft, lofty motion. It looks like Beth could just go ride her all the way around the farm.
Right.
That way.
I noticed that with some of the pleasure classes that they say that they should look like you could ride them all day at that gate. And that she certainly looks like that.
And you know what, they've become, in the English divisions, they certainly have become very, very animated. We started out many years ago, and the horses were, they were picking their feet up, but nothing like what we see today.
And so this horse is a half Arabian.
She is a half Arabian. Her mother was a saddlebred. Her father was a very famous park horse Alliance, who has produced a lot of national winners. But she is kind of his pinnacle for half Arabian mares. She's the most winning half Arabian mare by that horse.
Wow. And to explain to our viewers what a half Arabian means.
A half Arabian, it can be that one parent can be any breed. The other parent has to be a purebred Arabian. Whether it's the mare or the stallion, it has to be a purebred Arabian. Her father was a purebred stallion. The mare was a purebred saddlebred.
Right. And so that explains the fancier footwork.
Yeah. You can see we got the best of both worlds here.
Absolutely.
And this is Beth Kelly that's riding her, and she's one of the top amateurs in the country.
Very nice.
That we're lucky to have riding here with us.
Beautiful job. And a hand gallop, I'm assuming, is what the horse was doing that was loose running?
That was more, a hand gallop. A hand gallop is a lot faster. What she was just doing here was walk, trot, and canter. What they'll also ask for, Beth, if you'll do, is a halt and then walk off on a loose rein. They'll ask the horse to halt and then back a couple of steps, and then you will have to walk off on a loose rein and be very, very mannerly about it. And she stays elegant and pretty as she, so.
She's very elegant and pretty.
And then they'll ask you to gather your rein and trot off.
Right.
So you've gone from, low gear to high gear.
Very, very beautiful. So tell me about the driving part of the Arabian horse world.
The driving is probably probably my favorite thing to do. The horses, we have country pleasure driving, we have pleasure driving, we have and we have formal driving. So all those three different classes for driving. We're pulling a buggy. Informal driving is usually a four-wheel Viceroy or some sort of cart. In country and pleasure driving, it's usually a two-wheel buggy.
Okay.
And you're asked to walk, trot, extended trot, and then reverse, walk, trot, extended trot, and then you line up and you're asked to back. You're allowed to have a header to come in and stand in front of your horse because you are hooked to a buggy, and sometimes they can get a little nervous and get a little squiggly, and then horses and buggies that are a little nervous sometimes can be very dangerous.
Right.
And the class, you've got to be a really good horseman to drive, because some of those classes will have 14 or 15 driving horses. It's not a very big ring, and it's like NASCAR.
Right.
You have to know how to pace yourself and know how close you can get to someone, not to cause an accident or a wreck, and to show your horse to its best ability.
Right, that would be complicated.
Yes, it is. The horse that we're looking at is Alicia CA, and she's won the driving multiple times in Canada and U.S. And she just exemplifies, she's so elegant, it looks like you could drive her down the highway, although everyone's going to stop and stare because she's absolutely stunning. And she stands out because it looks like it's not laborious, to her. She just struts around, she trots around, it makes it look easy. Her ears are always up. The judges are always looking for expression and that the horse isn't chargy, and they have to have, especially in country pleasure driving, they have to have a certain elegance, and then they have to be able to turn it off. And they call for that walk, and that horse has got a flat walk. It can't jig, it can't prance. It needs to look like that, an old lady could drive this thing.
Right.
Not just me, the old lady, but an old lady can drive this horse.
Right.
And go, and then and then they'll reverse and they'll call for that trot, and those horses will step off, and it's a very exciting class, but it is an absolutely beautiful class. And now within the country pleasure driving, people used to just wear saddle suits. Now the women, we're wearing, when driving this particular time. You can be a little more fashionable than just wearing a saddle suit. This particular show, this particular class, which is in 2010, this mare hadn't been shown in 5 years, and we just gave her some time off, and we brought her back, and she won it unanimously. So that was a thrill.
That is very impressive. What a great job you did training her.
Well, thank you.
With us now is Amy Belton, and Amy is an assistant trainer here at Chesapeake Training Center, and Amy starts all the young horses.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me what it's like to start a young Arabian.
It is a very interesting process, and it's very it's interesting to see them grow and learn. And from the ones that start out, they're just scared of what they're doing, scared of you sitting on their back, and then you get to the point where they're comfortable with it and they trust you. And it's just a really amazing thing to see them learn to trust you.
Right.
Because it's a very unnatural thing for them to do.
Sure, they're prey animals. What age do you start them?
A lot of our babies we try to start around 3 years old, and we get them doing a lot of groundwork and very comfortable with that before we get on their back.
Okay.
So they're very confident with some of their jobs before we decide to get on.
Okay. And when you start riding them, what kind of saddles do you start right out with, like an English saddle on them? Or
we start with a Western saddle.
Okay.
They get used to that first. There's a lot of stuff on the Western saddle that's moving around, and it's a lot heavier, and the seat feels much different when you first get on. So we start out with that, and then we'll graduate to a hunter saddle or a dressage saddle or an English saddle once they get comfortable with that.
And how many have you done so far?
I've done about 6 with Virginia, and we've got 2 right now that aren't quite finished.
Right.
But they are coming along very nicely. So.
And what average time length does it take to get a horse from the very beginning to where you feel like it's ready to be ridden by somebody else?
Well, it kind of depends a little with each horse. One that we have right now, he came to us and he had not had very much time under saddle. He'd done a lot of groundwork, but he wasn't very confident. And we've only been riding him for about 3 months right now, and I would say I could pass off to a very experienced rider. But then another one that we have, he's not quite ready. He's trusting me, and he's very confident with that, but he's not quite ready. So he's had about the same amount of time, but I probably would like about 2 more months.
Right. That makes sense. Now I noticed that you were riding the sport horse earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me a little bit about that horse.
She is a phenomenal horse. She's so well trained, and Virginia's done a great job with her. But she is a princess, and you have to treat her like she's a princess. And if you stay out of her way and let her perform the way she knows how, then everything will be great. If you try to make it about you, then just like the horse that Beth was riding, if you try to make it about you, then it doesn't go so well for you.
Right. Well, that makes sense. You know, all divas like to be in the spotlight.
They do.
You're just a frame for that picture.
It's very cool to see, because they have such strong personalities, and you really just have to stay out of their way.
Right.
And be smart and make good decisions for them.
I can imagine how much fun it must be to show a horse that knows it's being shown and likes being shown. I mean, that must be just such a wonderful adrenaline rush, you know, because you know they're going to do well. All you have to do is hang on and be good.
Yes, you do. You can feel it the second you go through the gate.
Right.
You know that they are in there to do their job, they're focused, and it's a really cool feeling that they understand what's happening.
So you feel them kind of put on that smiley face and be ready to be Miss America. That's really nice. What an interesting and diverse breed an Arabian horse is. I really appreciate you taking time to explain some of these things to me today.
Well, thank you very much.
Tell us about the sport horse division.
This mare is JF Starlight Express, and she is a sport horse. She's actually owned by the people that own the farm, Jeff and Kirsten Ashby. And sport horse is kind of a new venue for us. It's not very old. I think it's about 5 or 6 years old. And it was basically to take horses that were more dressage type or suitable for dressage, hunter or hunter jumper, carriage driving. And they also show in hand, but they show in hand in more of a European style, which they have to, when they show in hand, they have to walk a triangle, they have to stand the horse up, walk a triangle, trot the triangle. You know, it looks like a little more of a European type presentation of the horses. This mare is being shown as a dressage type. She just came back from Sport Horse Nationals, and we're pleased to say that she was top 10 in her group.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And it was a very large group. It was like 39 mares.
Very nice.
So,
very nice.
but she's, you know, very, very elegant. She is refined. She's athletic looking. A lot of the main ring hunters are a little bigger, you know, carry a little more flesh, you know, a little more higher headed, and much more animated than she is. And she did main ring hunter and did very, very well. But we decided to take her the sport horse route, and she's done extremely well as a sport horse.
She's very beautiful, and she looks like an athlete. I mean, when you say sport horse, she fits that so perfectly to look at her.
You know, I think that that this mare, we're going to try and show her in dressage next year. Right now she's just going in the under saddle classes, and she's also being shown in hand. She's done extremely well in hand, but there's just not much not to like about her.
For certain.
She's got very, very pleasing motion. It's ground covering. She's got suspension. You know, she's what I think a good sport horse, you know, should look like. But the greatest thing about sport horse is that there's so many types of horses that can show in that venue.
Right.
The hunter type horses are much flatter moving, much lower headed. You know, they're not as collected. And then you've got the carriage driving horses, and they do, you know, the carriage classes and obstacles. So there's something for everyone in sport horse. I'm a huge fan of it. You know, I do most of my showing and training for main ring. We now have a sport horse division because it's very user friendly, especially for someone coming into the breed for the first time.
Right.
It's where I like to take them. It's very low key. It's not high pressure. You know, I think that everyone kind of has a fair shot because these judges that are judging sport horse are open dressage and open hunter judges. They're not Arabian judges.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so they don't know who anybody is.
Right.
You know, so they're just going to, you know, pin what they personally like.
Right. And then they're not loyal to any specific breed, so that makes sense.
I mean, there's so many different types because when you get into the half Arab divisions for sport horse, you've got half warm bloods, you've got half thoroughbreds, you know, you've got half draft horses,
Right.
you know, and they all, you know, seem to have a place to show.
Right.
So it's a huge, I think, asset to our breed. The sport horse classes at the regular the Class A shows are normally very, very large. So, and I think that's just proof of how successful that venue is.
I can see why. I mean, there's not very many opportunities that a real fine-bone horse and a heavier body draft horse can compete.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
And especially on a level playing field. I mean, that's just awesome. With us now is Beth Kelly, and Beth is a very successful amateur rider. Beth, can you tell us a little bit about why you love Arabians?
The main reason is the versatility of the breed. I've been able to show country horses, western horses, halter horses, park horses, English pleasure horses. I've dabbled a little bit in reining,
Right.
just practicing at home. Working over fences, fox hunting,
Nice.
endurance. I've done the Old Dominion 50 mile. So there's nothing they can't do. So.
You certainly made it look easy when you were riding that beautiful bay mare.
She makes it easy.
She's outstanding.
Yeah.
What do you like best about her?
She is the quintessential show horse. I mean, she truly wants to be in the ring. And
Right.
so as an amateur, she makes it very easy because she knows her job. She's built for her job. And she makes it, to the judge's eye, look like this is, I'm a show horse and an amateur is on me, but we look like we're going to be hard to beat.
Right. But she definitely makes it look
She
that
has
way.
that air.
She makes me feel like
Yes.
I could ride her, so that's pretty incredible.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's good.
She's very beautiful. And she's got the most beautiful eyes.
She does. She has very expressive eyes, and I believe she got those from her sire.
Right.
He has those just very penetrating eyes, and I think just the sheer size of them are part of what our breed is known for. And when she comes in the show ring, she gives you that look at me, and
She
I'm going to
does.
look at you. Yeah.
She commands your attention
Yes.
without a doubt.
Yes.
And this is AM Shooting Star. This is her little showmanship horse. And this is another great thing about this breed, is that kids of all ages can show an Arabian horse. They've always had the reputation of being, you know, hot and nervous, and this little horse doesn't have a nervous bone in his body. In fact, he would just like to take Caroline and eat some grass. But he is an Almira bred horse, and they're some of the oldest breeders in the country. He is also a reiner, and he's been a top 10 in the country as a reiner. And Caroline is going to show him next year as a showmanship horse.
Nice.
And for a kid, how old are you, Caroline?
6 years old.
For 6 years old, and
Wow.
she's handling
Hey,
a
sweetie.
wild Arabian.
What do you do in a showmanship class?
Well, we go out there and we present our horses. And so it's fun.
Right. And so when you're presenting your horse, it's kind of like what you're doing right now? All right, very good.
Okay, and what they have to do is I walk around, she'll have to move and never be, and she never needs to block the sight of the judge.
Okay.
Okay, so as I walk around the back, she's going to move, and then as I walk forward, then she'll move again.
What we're seeing in the background now is beautiful native costumes that the horses are presented in the native costume contest and classes in the
That's
Arabian
correct.
shows. So tell us a little bit about this.
Well, native costume is probably the spectator favorite of the horse shows, and for obvious reasons. You know, these horses come out in some of the most beautiful costumes you could ever imagine, and some of these costumes can get pretty pricey. I mean, they can they can go upwards from $1,000 to $10,000.
That's exquisite.
They are asked to walk and canter and hand gallop.
Wow.
That's
a lot of action and all that stuff.
and I have to say, when they call for the hand gallop, it gets very exciting.
I bet.
Now she's just cantering, and the horse has to be very, very tall, very elevated.
Beautiful.
That's so pretty against the sun.
It is gorgeous.
And like at nationals, Erin is competing. This is Erin Belton, and she's one of my amateur riders. She's competing at nationals for the first time in native costume. This is her horse, Sparkin' of Fire, who is a half Arab. She's also half saddlebred, and part saddlebred, part Arab. And so she's very excited. This is like a dress rehearsal.
Well, I'm sure you're going to do very, very well, because it's absolutely breathtaking.
Okay, turn it up, dearie. Watch the hole at the end. Good, good. And that's a little more of the hand gallop.
Beautiful.
The detail of this costume, and this is a costume by a costume designer named Cher, and she does some really, really beautiful things. Actually, the class is also judged 50% on the costume.
It's absolutely fabulous. The colors are just magnificent. Even the stirrups are trimmed with sequins and stuff. It's just absolutely beautiful. I hope you've enjoyed being here today at Chesapeake Training Center. I always thought Arabians were a little crazy and a little hot, and I was always scared to own one. But what a wonderful discovery to find out how versatile they are and how smart they are, and that they're pretty much an all-around horse for anybody that would like to have one. And you can hardly compare their beauty to any other breed. They're just absolutely beautiful the way they float across the arenas and the grass, and it's an all-natural gait that they possess. So I got to tell you, I'm enchanted with the Arabian horse breed. And if you listen really carefully, you might just hear Carolina Hoofbeats in the background. So thanks for watching today, and stay tuned next week for our next adventure.
This episode of Carolina Hoofbeats TV was made possible in part by funding received from the North Carolina Horse Council, a North Carolina nonprofit corporation dedicated to representing and furthering the common interest of the entire equine industry in all 100 counties of North Carolina. Carolina Hoofbeats is brought to you in part by Newcomb Quarter Horses. Newcomb Quarter Horses with over 40 years experience. Find out how we can help you today. NewcombQuarterHorses.net. And by World Class Saddlery. Custom saddles, repairs, custom tack, and personal leather items. Find out more at worldclasssaddlery.com. And also by Carolina Hoofbeats Magazine, a free publication about the horse industry in North Carolina. Catch up on the latest issue at carolinahoofbeats.com.
Saddle, nothing else matters. My feet in the stirrups, I'm so happy. There's nothing like the sound of Carolina Hoofbeats. Sitting high in the saddle, nothing else matters. My feet in the stirrups, I'm so happy. There's nothing like the sound